show. I'm Dana Devine. Thank you for watching. This next half hour is sponsored by the Metropolitan Chicago Breast Cancer Task Force. What do? We're an organization right here in Chicago, and we help women who are uninsured, underinsured, or simply unsure get free mammograms, get the help that they need. We are here to help eradicate the health disparities that clearly exist in Chicago. We're doing our part, and if you need anything like a mammogram, then I need you to make sure you write this number down right now. We're going to kick it off with the number, 312-942-3368. You got it? info@chicagobreastcancer.org. Write it down. Get your cell phone out. Take a picture of that page. All right, this show we're dedicated to raising the awareness about breast cancer, and that will help eradicate this phenomenon of black women here in Chicago dying too soon from breast cancer. We are letting that go. And I feel like I'm doing my part because every month we bring you a testimony that I hope will impact you and motivate you to get your mammogram and encourage those that you love to get their mammograms too. All right, well, we're in Chicago. We got a new mayor. Yay! We're all excited about that. A new day in Chicago, and we're just really looking forward to all of what the new day and the new dawn may bring here in the city. Did you know that 80% of lumps that are found in your breast are not cancerous? And did you know that 99% of the time, early detection saves lives? Bada bing, bada boom. It's as simple as that. Get your mammogram today. I'm going to show it to you one more time before we get going. 312-942-3368. info@chicagobreastcancer.org. And you know, people say, like, when you go every year, over 40 every year. But my rule of thumb is your birth month is a good month to schedule all of your annual physical exams, your mammograms, your pap smears, anything related to your health. Schedule it in your birth month, and then you're more likely to remember to attend your appointment. Yay! Well, today our special guest is better late than never, is a very special guest, and she's a very good friend of mine. I need you in your home right now in Chicagoland. Stand up, put your hands together. I'd like to introduce to you Elizabeth Rivera. That's right. Hey.
Hello, Dana.
How are you?
Good, how are
you? Good. Well, you know what? We practice that applause, and darn it, we'll get it right one day. Elizabeth.
Yes, Dana.
I believe that your testimony might be the most important thing ever. And so I am asking you to share with these men and women right here in Chicago your testimony. And if you have something to say about it, 312-738-1060. This is a call-in show, 312-738-1060, if you want to jump into this conversation. But right now, I'd like to bring Elizabeth to the forefront of this conversation. And tell us your story, Elizabeth.
Well, I was diagnosed in October 13th of 2011. I was 49 years old, about to celebrate my 50th birthday, and I decided that I was going to start a new business and went in for a physical exam, routine physical exam, and my primary physician found my lump. She suggested the normal routine, have a mammogram, and I was in disbelief because I had just had a clean mammogram earlier that year. So you know
that, y'all. She just had a clean mammogram,
and I was in a little bit in denial.
Right.
You know, like, how could this be? But I went ahead and had the mammogram, and they found a lump. And then I started getting a series of tests done. Ended up having my 50th birthday at the hospital, having a bilateral mastectomy, which I decided on my own. I didn't have to have both breasts removed, but I decided that that would be the best for my treatment. And my sons that were 16 years old at the time, twins, they just grew up instantly.
Mm.
One took care of me physically, bathed me, and the other one made sure that, the sheets were changed and I was fed. So my whole life changed in a matter of months.
Really, with that call, did you get a phone call with the diagnosis, or did you go into the office?
Oh, that was, to this day, it just cringes. I cringe because I got a letter in the mail. And when I opened up the letter, I had no clue what any of that meant to me. It just felt like a foreign language. And it was a coincidence that the doctor had just called me. It's like she was watching me. And she called me, and I answered the phone. She said, "Did you get the letter?" And I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "Did you read it?" And I said, "Well, I'm reading it now." She goes, "Do you know what it means?" I said, "No." She goes, "You have the big C."
So like that, the big C?
The big C.
Oh.
I'm like, oh my God. I could not I collapsed. I couldn't. At the time I was a flight attendant, I was on my way to the airport. I had to face all these passengers and I was crying all the way there. And it was just horrific.
I tell you, the way that information is delivered, I tell you, I don't know. I mean, clearly there's no great way to tell somebody that they have cancer, but if there could just be a class on sensitivity
Yes,
for some
I agree.
physicians, I mean, maybe you should say, "What are you doing?
Right.
You're sitting down. How's your day going?" Anything.
Yeah.
Or start out the conversation with, 99% of early detection saves lives. Just remind somebody that. But anyway, okay, so you got the diagnosis, and there began your journey. So what, the new buzzword is the team approach, where you, did you have the team approach where you had your oncologist, your radiologist, your surgeon?
I did. I was very fortunate.
Yes.
That primary doctor, even though she wasn't sensitive enough to have me even on a Skype or something with all this technology, she did create a team for me. So I was able to meet each of them individually first and then as a group. But yet, everything sounded like Charlie Brown.
Oh, exactly.
Wah, wah, wah,
Exactly.
So I was smart enough to take someone with me.
Yes, yes.
And take my notes as well. So it worked out.
Yes. So, I have a question. Were you married at the time?
I was.
You were married at the time.
Yes.
And were you dealing with insurance and those type of battles, or were you able to successfully navigate your medical with no problem?
No, it was still difficult. I had really good insurance, but I had to navigate for a couple of months. So my breast cancer was still alive and working while the insurance company was just, crawling like turtles.
Yeah, right.
And so up until the day that I had surgery, even there, we were arguing on the phone about getting pre-approved.
Wow. Just, just imagine, I always say the stress on top of the stress. My goodness.
Yes.
So you were diagnosed, you had a double mastectomy?
A double mastectomy.
A bilateral mastectomy, optioned out. You chose to have that. And that was how many years ago?
It was 8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Yes,
that's
I'm
room
still
for
here
applause.
and healthy.
Absolutely. I mean, that's amazing. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell me what you've changed in 8 years.
I've changed my lifestyle as far as eating. Try to exercise more. Release stress, just do more simple things and not stress over, little things. So even the way I buy things, I don't buy things anymore. I actually buy experiences, like go on vacation more, because that helps.
All right, instead of the little knick-knacky.
Little knick-knacks, no more clothes, shoes, and all that. Yeah, I don't do that as much. I know.
I can take a note page out of that. Well, I mean, so there's so much to learn about yourself, but I know right in the middle of your journey, or maybe at the end of your journey, you turned your lemons into lemonade.
I did.
And started a second career.
I did.
And tell us how you managed that and what that is about.
So I opened up my own daycare. And that was something that I've always wanted to do. And I wasn't really a risk taker. So just this whole journey with the cancer, I'm like, well, I might not be here tomorrow, so why don't not risk it? And I went ahead and opened up my daycare, and it's been successful for 7 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, that's interesting, and not a risk taker, because sometimes I feel like as a survivor that I just don't know. I get nervous, not so much taking risks. I just feel like, will I can throw my dice. Will I be able to see the prize? I don't know. I struggle with.
Okay.
I still struggle. Everybody, I still struggle too. This is no walk in the park. It's a mind game every single day. But I appreciate. But no, I think I'm digging for something else. I know the daycare is great. That's your bread and butter for but you have another career.
I do. So I wrote 2 books.
2 books. 2 books. That's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I decided that I wanted to express and let go everything that was festered in while going through treatment in a book, so I can share it with others, so maybe I could help someone and let people know that they're not alone in the journey.
And so what's the name of your book?
Damaged Goods. And the reason why I chose that title is because I'm not damaged, but people perceive that you're damaged when you have cancer, and that's not true.
True. Not true at all. And there's a second book on the horizon. I know that you were talking about a second book.
Yeah, it's the last chapter of the first book, but it's actually the first. It should be the first thing you read, and it's called My Girls Tried to Kill Me, because they did. They tried to kill me. My girls is what you call your breast.
Right, but you didn't let them have you. Didn't let them have you. No, you didn't. I just have to remind you that we are representing the Metropolitan Chicago Breast Cancer Task Force. And if you need a mammogram, you hear us sitting here talking about mammograms. Well, this is what we are here talking about. If you need one, if you haven't had one in a year, 312-942-3368. We have a Latina navigation team that is waiting to assist you right now. So 312-942-3368. Share that information. So, Elizabeth, they talk about this new epidemic with young women. And I know that Chicago it's a segregated city. I'm stumbling, but it is. And their pockets and zip codes matter here.
They do.
And so when we look at the whole pie and the whole picture, in Chicago, it's very unfortunate that the highest numbers of breast cancer deaths from breast cancer are in our neighborhoods of color. What do you think about that?
I think it's absolutely true. One thing, it's our environment where we live. There's so much construction, and they don't inform us that these historical buildings that they're tearing down have these chemicals, and they go into our furnaces. We're breathing this, chemicals. And then it's the food that we eat. The convenience of going to McDonald's or, other fast food restaurants. It's harming us long term.
So did you have a history of breast cancer in your family?
So another thing is cultural. We don't share. So I didn't know that I had breast cancer in my family until I had it. And cancer for me was a death sentence. I knew that someone in my family had cancer and that person had passed away. But what I didn't know was that I had another family member that had survived 16 years prior had breast cancer.
Right. I think the critical information, I too, after being diagnosed, when I looked at my paternal side of the family, there was lots of incidents. However, all of them were still alive. So, I mean, that I just
Yeah.
made me feel good that at least whatever cancer, they have names, it was a cancer that was survivable. So I looked at my family genealogy as well and was encouraged. But there was a lot of cancer. So, that just takes us to, the fact that nobody's talking in families. This is a critical, especially for young women who are under 40, who will not get an order for a mammogram per se unless she shows any signs, outward signs. It's so very important for young women nowadays to know your family's history. Know you sit down with somebody in your family and ask some questions. And I understand that, a lot of times we breeze over, oh, she passed away because she had some ice cream and fish after church. And, nobody's really talking about what it is. But very, very important for our young girls, because it might be the missing link between life and death. You've got to know your family's history, and that matters, because if your mother was diagnosed with cancer at 48, then you should be getting screened or a mammogram 10 years earlier, 38, and so your doctor needs to know that. And so these are questions that are maybe uncomfortable, or conversations, but they need to be had.
Yes, absolutely.
So you're, okay, did you test positive for the BRCA gene?
I did not.
Did you take the test?
I did. I took the test and I was not positive.
Right. So we're, I'm feeling like the environmental factor must be considered.
Yes.
But where do you start with that? So I have a question, and I asked, I think, most of my guests this question. Can you think of any experience that you had 2 years, I'd say 2 years prior to your diagnosis, a loss, some type of heavy loss that you experienced?
I don't think that I had a heavy loss as a person, but I did lose my job.
That qualifies.
So that was devastating for me, because I had worked for this company for 20 plus years, and then, I was displaced, and then I felt like, oh my God, was it me? What have I done wrong? And the stress that came with it was just overwhelming. So yeah, I think that could have had some part of it too, the stress.
I mean, they say stress can cause cancer, and I do recall we did a study. I talked to 20 women, and all 20 of them had some type of loss, whether it was a job or a loved one or something, prior to their diagnosis.
Yes,
so
I can believe that.
I believe that might be important.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So the question is, why haven't you gone to the doctor? Why haven't you gone to the doctor? You have, this is what I say. If you go every year, and somewhere between your last one and the one that you're taking today, you got a diagnosis that wasn't what you wanted, more than likely, if you go every year, it's still considered early detection. That's why you go every year. So in case you go back the 1 year like I did, or the 1 year like Elizabeth did, and they didn't say, oh, you're fine, but see you next year, you are going and in its time space where it's probably early enough that you're not in the next stage of cancer.
Absolutely.
So you did chemo?
I did 8 weeks of hard chemo, and then I did soft chemo, and it was not fun at all.
Oh, I hold my breath. Did you work out while you were?
I didn't. It was, but chemo's different for everybody.
Yeah, right.
So for me, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. I didn't eat. I lost a lot of weight. It was a dark space for me, but I knew that I would get through it. And what I did was I treated myself after each chemo. And it was little things like ice cream, or, something that I really liked, or maybe a walk to the park or something, just to motivate myself. And I did that mentally, because I believe that 90% of getting through anything is positive attitude.
Right.
And so that helped me a whole lot.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I definitely can. Yeah, chemo. But I was sweating it out and just trying to juice it out. But I hate to scare folks because people get so scared of chemotherapy that they opt out of treatment.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think that's a great idea. But I will say that, if your doctor says you need to have chemotherapy, go on and get that chemotherapy.
Yes, get it.
Don't opt out. Don't check that box and say, nah. I wouldn't. I just, my recommendation is to go ahead and go on and do it.
Absolutely. I would do it. If I had to do it again, God forbid, I would definitely take chemotherapy again because the end result is much better than not.
Yeah, I would have to say so. So, Elizabeth, one thing I find with African American women is that we are full of excuses of why we don't go to the doctor. Am I talking to you? Do you have a list of reasons why you canceled your appointment? It hurts too much. What do you have to say about that?
Oh, I think it's a fear factor that we just fear that we might find something. So we're actually producing this negative, whatever, thing in the air for ourselves. So we end up stalling and excuses, and by the time we really go, then there's an issue,
Right.
a possible issue.
But does it hurt that bad?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Ladies, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Hello. It's
Yeah.
that's poor excuse. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't want to know. That's a good excuse, and that is. I think that it really is. Fear is really the main reason. Caring for my family.
Mm-hmm. We're caring people, so yes.
We have like generational. I can't go because my mother. I got to take my mother to the doctor.
Yes.
Or my grandbaby to the doctor, or a list of reasons. Bad excuse. What about no insurance? Bad excuse because you can call us 312-942-3368. That one you gotta go. No insurance. Boom! Busted right there. 312-942-3368. That's not an excuse anymore.
No.
How about this one? You don't need to do chemo. God's got you.
Yeah, that's not a good one either.
What you think about that?
I love God and I have a great relationship with him, but chemo is a must. If it's recommended for a reason. And you should make sure that you get, the proper treatment. Otherwise, it gets worse. And then there's no outlet. So I think that you should do your research for sure. Make sure that you have a good relationship with your doctor. Ask all the questions. There's no dumb question. And your doctor is human just like you are. Do not be afraid. That's another thing, Dana, that some of us are afraid of our doctors because we think that they know it all. They don't know it all.
Can be wrong.
It can be wrong. So, and you should have a second opinion. Definitely have a second opinion.
Definitely have a second opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do a second opinion?
I sure did. Oh, yeah.
I did, but my second opinion, she scared me so bad. I was like, let me out. Back to the first doctor. I went back to the first doctor. I could tell that style of doctors makes a difference.
It does.
In your treatment. It
does.
So I didn't need to say, I just needed that personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went right back. And there's too much going on in my life.
You're too busy, huh?
I'm too busy. Busy Brenda.
Too busy to survive.
Well, I had a saying, see me now. You could go see the doctor for 15. Where was it? Oh, I had a nice little slogan for a funeral home that was sponsoring a breast cancer walk. They could say, you could 15 minutes. You can see her for 15 minutes, or see me. What you want to do? Go see us. See us for 15 minutes. Get your mammogram and avoid the next step. It's pretty crude, but it's the truth. Don't deny, verify. Yeah. Elizabeth, you guys can go to Damaged Goods.
It's Damaged Goods 3DS because I was triple D breast when I was diagnosed.
triple D 3 Damaged Goods 3DS, and check out her book. We're gonna wrap this up. Thank you so much for coming by. Listen, I want to thank Donna Lynn Schaefer, our producer. I want to thank Maurice Joshua for the music. I want to thank the Metropolitan Chicago Breast Cancer Task Force for sponsoring this half hour. And I want to thank you for taking the time to watch. Make sure you spread the word, spread the news. We may not be talking to you, but if you know anybody who needs some support, we've got it. 942-3368, area code 312. All right? Thanks for watching. See you next month.